Hello students, I welcome you all to this session on EMFT or electromagnetics. I am Vishali Kikan and today in this session we are going to talk about the Gauss's law. First of all, why we are studying the Gauss's law, what is the significance of it? Okay, it will help us find out various electrical parameters like the electric flux or the electric field intensity with a great ease. It will make our life easier. In the previous videos where I was talking about the electric field intensity, I was using the big derivations, but here I will be telling you how we can use the symmetricity property and how we can find out the electric flux and the electric field intensity without the bigger derivations. Okay, so this will make our life easier for sure. So here we should know two things. First of all, we should know what is electric field intensity. Second, we should know what is electric flux. I hope you all have seen the previous videos where I have discussed about both of them. So now, first of all, what is electric flux? I will give you a quick overview, then we will start with the Gauss's law. Okay, so what is electric flux? So let's suppose this is my small area. This is my small area. Now here we have this electric field. So this is the direction of the electric field and this electric field is also constant. Now if I have to find out the surface vector for a very small element, so let's suppose this is a very small element on this surface, I can find out the surface vector. The surface vector was always perpendicular to the surface. So here I can make the surface vector like this. This is my surface vector. Okay, it is making the angle theta with the electric field intensity. Now coming to the electric flux. So for this small surface, I can find out the electric flux. The electric flux for this small surface will be given as, it will be equal to E. This is my E, this is my ds multiplied with cos of theta. Okay, so here we have two vectors multiplied with cos of theta. This reminds me of one formula. Which formula? A dot B. A dot B was equal to A vector multiplied with B vector multiplied with cos theta. So here I can write it down as E dot ds. Okay, so now this was the electric flux due to this small surface area. Now if I have to find out the electric flux due to the full surface, then I will be integrating it over the full surface. Okay, so now let's suppose we have a sphere like this. Okay, so at the center we have a charge. Because of this charge we will be having the electric field. Okay, so now we have these electric fields. Now you can see at the surface these are making the angle 90 degree with the surface. So now let's take this particular condition and here you can find out that E ds cos of theta. Theta will be here 90 degrees. So here in this case I can say psi will be equal to integration of E ds. Okay, so here we have cos of 0 because the electric field is in 90 degree direction. Also the surface vector will be in 90 degree direction. So both of them, so this is my ds vector, this is my E vector. Both of them are 90 degree angle from the surface. So now here I can say these two are parallel to each other. When these two are parallel to each other, they don't have any angle between them. So I can write cos of 0. So here in this case, psi will be equal to integration of E into ds over the surface. Okay, so now here you can see this is my formula to find out psi. Okay, now if I have to represent this in the terms of D, so D was electric field density, how I can represent it? First of all, we should know what is the relationship between E and D. Okay, so D was epsilon naught into E, where epsilon naught was the permittivity of the free space. Okay, so now here if I multiply and divide by epsilon naught, so here also I have epsilon naught, and at the denominator also I have epsilon naught. So now if I see this epsilon naught E, it will give me the D. And I can represent it in the terms of dot product as well. So I can represent the electric flux as 1 upon epsilon naught integration over the surface. So here we have the surface integration d vector dot ds vector. So this is how we can represent in the terms of the electric field intensity. This is how we can represent in the terms of electric field density. Okay, so now what is the Gauss's law actually? Okay, so for the Gauss's law, I will be giving you the statement first, then we will be verifying it with the help of the derivation. Okay, we will be using this surface and we will be finding out the derivation of the Gauss's law. Okay, so what is Gauss's law? Okay, so the Gauss's law states that the net outward electric flux from a closed surface is 1 upon epsilon naught times the net charge enclosed. Okay, so how I can represent it? What is the net outward electric flux? How I can represent it? So I can represent it as integration of EDS. So here we have the dot product. And here we have the closed surface. So for the closed surface, I will be using this symbol. So this is how I can represent my flux. It is equal to 1 upon epsilon times the net charge enclosed. Okay, so here we have represented it with 1 upon epsilon naught Q net, which is enclosed. So don't forget this. If I have any charge which is outside the surface, we will not be considering it here. Okay, but the electric field is the total electric field. Here when I am finding out the electric field, I will consider all of the charges. Here for the electric field, I will not just consider the charges that are inside the surface, I will consider all of the charges. Okay, so now first let's discuss what is the proof of this Gauss's law. So here you can see we have the spherical surface, and I told you the psi can be found out as EDS over here. Cos of 0 was 1, so here we can directly put EDS. Okay, so now what is psi here? So here we have the surface. If I have a spherical ball, so E was constant, this charge is constant, it is not changing, so I can take E outside. I can represent it like this. So I can represent it like, so this should be the closed surface. I am talking about the spherical surface. What is the charge that is enclosed? It is Q only. So here I will be writing down Q upon epsilon naught. Now we can find out what is the electric field. So if I am just finding out at this point, I can find out the electric field due to this charge at this point. Okay, I can find out it. So here what will be the electric field? Electric field will be KQ upon R square. Okay, now we have to find out the integration of ds. What will be the total surface area of a sphere? It will be 4 pi r square. Okay, let's suppose I have the radius to be r. So the surface area of the sphere, so here we are taking the closed surface. The closed surface means the surface area of the sphere. It will be 4 pi r square. What is k here? If I put the value of k, okay, so k is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. So here q upon r square is written as it is. It is multiplied with 4 pi r square. Okay, now I will be cancelling out r square with r square, 4 pi with 4 pi. What I am left out with? Q upon epsilon naught. What I had found out? I had found out the electric flux. Electric flux came out to be Q upon epsilon naught. So this is how I can prove my Gauss's law. Okay, so there should not be any doubt here about how we can prove it. Okay, so now one thing you must have observed, that if I have any radius, so let's suppose we have one more sphere. Now this is my sphere and let the radius will be like 5r. So my radius has now increased. But now if I have to find out the electric flux, then what it would be? It will be again Q upon epsilon naught, because for this bigger sphere also we have the net charge Q only. Okay, so I can see the net outward flux again will be Q upon epsilon naught. So one thing I have deduced, that whatever be the radius of the sphere, okay, how much bigger my surface is, the net outward flux will not change. It will remain same. Okay, so it will be Q upon epsilon naught. Okay, so what is the net outward flux if I ask you? So the net outward flux were the number of electric field lines that were crossing the surface. So if I had the same charge, so you can see these are the electric field lines that are crossing the surface. If I extend them, these are only the electric field lines that are crossing the surface. So there is no point of seeing what is the radius or what is the size of the structure. Similarly, I can say there could be any structure of any shape. So instead of sphere, let's take here a cubic structure. So when I talk about the cubic structure, then also only these lines are crossing the cubic structure. Now let's take one more case. Now let's take a conical type of structure. So again, if this structure is closed, the only condition is that the structure should be closed. Okay, so if the structure is closed, then again the electric field lines will be same. Again, if someone would ask you what is the electric field intensity or what is the electric flux, you can find out with the help of this formula. Okay, the electric flux will directly be equal to Q upon epsilon naught. Okay, in all of the cases, regardless of the size, regardless of the shape. Now I told you that I am only taking the charge which are enclosed inside the surface. I am not considering the charges that are outside the surface. You must be having the doubt that why I am not considering those charges. But when I told you that when I was finding out electric field, that time I will be considering those charges. So let's understand this with the help of this diagram. So here I have two charges, Q0 and Q1. Okay, so due to Q0 I have some electric field lines. Okay, due to Q0 I will also have some electric field lines, and the charge Q2 which is outside, due to which I will be having some electric field lines. So let's understand what will be the flux due to the charge Q2. So here you can see, so if I have to find out the surface vector, it will be perpendicular to this surface. So here at this surface, let's suppose E is also perpendicular. So now this is the direction of E vector. This is the direction of surface vector. What is the angle? It is 180 degree. So this is how at this point I can find out the flux to be E ds cos of 180 degree. Now come to this point. So here this is the direction of the electric field. Now what will be the direction of the surface vector? So surface vector will be perpendicular to the surface, outward to the surface. So this is my surface vector. So here you can see the surface vector and the electric field are in the same direction. So they are making 0-degree angle. So this is how I can denote my small electric flux in both of the cases. Now let's observe this. So here cos of 0 is 1, so here I will be getting EDS, and here cos of 180 is -1, so here I will be getting minus EDS. So you can see if I combine both of the flux due to the same charge, so both of the flux will be adding up and it will be giving me the 0 net flux. So the Gauss's law states that there will be no electric flux caused due to the outward charges. Okay, so this is the reason we are not considering the outside charges when I am talking about the Gauss's law and electric flux due to that. But at a particular point, if I have to find out the electric field, you can see if at this point I had to find out the electric field, at this point the electric field was generated due to the charge Q2 as well. Okay, at this point it was not cancelled out. Okay, so if I have to find out electric field, I will be considering all of the charges regardless of their position. If I have to find out electric flux, then I will be finding out only the charges that are enclosed by the surface, and then only I will be finding out the electric flux. So now coming to the limitations. What are some limitations? So there are some limitations, like I can only use the symmetric Gaussian surface. Okay, so here I had used the conical Gaussian surface, but in this case the Gaussian surface is not symmetric around the charge Q. So the Gauss's law will be failing for this kind of surfaces. I require the symmetric surfaces like I discussed about the sphere. Okay, or the cube will also be the symmetric surface. So now we require the symmetric Gaussian surface. We require the symmetric electric field. So here I was discussing about the electric field. The electric field was making the angle 90 with the surface vector at each and every point of the spherical surface. Okay, so the electric field is also symmetric with respect to the surface vector. Now the theta angle between E and S is same at all point of the surface. Electric field is constant plus the angle that I have already told you, the angle between E and DS, like here it was 0 at all of the places, and also E is constant, E should not vary. So here I had only one charge, due to this charge only I was having electric field. This charge was not changing, so this electric field is not changing. So now the next point is Gaussian surface is not passing through the charge. The charge is at the center of the Gaussian surface in most of the cases. But at some cases it can be at some another location as well, but it can never be at the boundary of the Gaussian surface. So in all of these cases my Gauss's law will fail. So now I will be giving you a quick example. Okay, so here we have a half sphere, and at the surface of the half sphere I have the charge Q. Now I have to find out the electric flux due to this half sphere. So okay, first of all I should have a closed surface. This is not closed, so I will be considering that there is a full sphere instead of half sphere. So if I consider the full sphere, what will be the electric flux? Electric flux will be equal to 1 upon epsilon times the charge enclosed, that is Q only. So Q upon epsilon naught. So now if I talk about the half sphere, this is a symmetric structure. So if the charge is giving some electric field, it is giving in the all of the direction with the symmetry. So the charge that is giving the electric field in the upward direction, same charge is giving the same electric field in the downward direction. So the flux that is in upper half portion will be equal to the flux that is in the lower half portion. So I can say if I have to find out the flux due to this half surface, so it will be half times of Q upon epsilon naught. Okay, so now I will be giving you one more example. Okay, so this is my cube. At the center of the cube, I have a charge Q. Now I have to find out the flux due to only one side of this cube. Okay, so now I can see this is my full cube. Okay, or this question can be given another way, like if I have a surface and I have a charge in front of this, so how I can find out the electric flux at this surface due to this charge? How I can find out? First of all, I will be converting it into the form of a cube. Like this surface I have placed here and I have made a cube with this surface as one of the edge. Okay, so now from this full cube, what will be the flux? Flux will be Q upon epsilon naught. Now this surface is having 6 faces. Okay, a cube is having 6 faces. Now I have to find out the flux at one of the face. So this flux at the 6 of the faces is Q upon epsilon naught. If I divided it by 6, I will be getting the flux at one of the surface. So flux here will be Q upon 6 epsilon naught. So was it easy? This is how we can find out the electric flux, or this equation I can use to find out the electric field intensity as well. So this is how the Gauss's law gives us a very simplified formula to find out the electric field intensity as well as the electric flux. I hope you like this session. If you have any kind of doubt, please put the doubt in the comment or you can reach out to me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you will be liking this video. You will be subscribing this channel. Thank you so much once again.